What's up, Falcons Nation? It's your boy Jew coming at you with another Atlanta Falcons video. As always, Falcons Nation, rise up. In today's video, I want to recap yesterday's victory over the Las Vegas Raiders. Some things that I noticed. But if you're new to the channel, please hit that subscribe button. Hit that notification bell so you'll know when I've done Atlanta Falcons content. Hit that like button for your boy. I do appreciate you guys continuing to tune into the channel. We are on the goal to 1,000 subscribers. So I appreciate each and every one of you guys continuing to tune into my content, sharing out my content on all the social media platforms. If you would like to follow your boy on Twitter, you can follow me at Jew Talk Sports. But with that being said, let's jump right into the video. So yesterday, as I was talking, I was just stating we did dominate the Las Vegas Raiders at home. I was very proud of the way that the defense came out and set the tone in this game. I believe that Raheem Morris, since he's taken over as the head coach, him and Jeff Albrecht has done a great job with this defense. I'm loving the defensive schemes that I'm seeing, the blitzing. Yesterday, Afoye Aluakan started off the game with a strip sack fumble on Derek Carr, putting our offense on the short field. The defense dominated the whole game, putting our offense on the short field, giving us great field position. The whole linebacking core in general, Deion Jones yesterday with the pick six. Michael Walker is another player that we drafted out of Fresno State. He's another guy when we go into those 4-3 sets and those like 3-4 type scheme sets. He's played very well. They're using him in a lot of different ways, using him coming off the edge, using him to cover tight ends and cover running backs. And he's done a good job this year. Pro Football Focus actually graded Michael Walker as the best linebacker so far this season in the NFL, rookie linebacker. So I think that was a great draft pick by Thomas Dimitroff, who's no longer here. Him and Rich McKay did a great job of the guys that they brought in this draft, and they're finally starting to develop. You can see Michael Walker now; he's gotten about 9 games under his belt now, playing. So you've seen this guy starting to develop in this scheme. Also, yesterday we had a sighting, a Marlon Davidson sighting at that defensive tackle position / defensive end position. He got in the game and he made, push the pocket, made some nice plays on the inside, especially pushing the pocket and stopping the run. This Atlanta Falcons defense as a whole has been very good at stopping the run this year. They showed in the telecast yesterday, we're actually ranked 9th in the league. So we're in the top 10 when it comes to stopping the run. And I really think that our defense would be a lot better against the pass as well. If we would have started off the season with Raheem Morris as the head coach and with Jeff Albrecht running the defense. You can tell now that Dan Quinn is gone, that Dan Quinn was actually running the defense when he was still here the first 5 games of the season. Because since Dan Quinn has left, this defense has done a full 360. This defense looks totally different than those first 5 games of the season when we mainly were just playing very vanilla. A lot of soft zone coverage, a lot of cover 3, was no blitzing schemes, no pressure on the quarterback. We were just trying to let our front 4 get pressure and dropping everybody else in the coverage. So you can tell that since Dan Quinn has left, this team looks totally different on defense and on offense. They look totally different. But the defense as a whole looks totally different. Isaiah Oliver, early in the season, he was one of those guys that was consistently being picked on by offenses. And Raheem Morris and Jeff Albrecht has done a great job of covering up his weaknesses, covering up a lot of these guys' weaknesses and flaws. And as a head coach and as a defensive coordinator, that's what your job, that is your job, to put these guys in the best position to succeed. And that's what I'm noticing with this team. Yesterday, if you watched our post-game show on Atlanta Falcons Nation, definitely go hit the subscribe button there as well. They're on their way to 1,000 subscribers as well at AFN. And we talked about it yesterday in our post-game show after the game. Big Country, Big Low basically asked on the panel, he stated on the panel, one thing that we're noticing, or one thing that he's noticing with this defensive line, is we're not just relying on speed rushes. We're being more physical. We're putting those bigger guys on our defensive line. We're playing them a lot more. If you noticed yesterday, Marlon Davidson's now starting to get a lot of playing time. Another player that's starting to come out of his shell and starting to develop, and could be a player that you could be hearing his name for a very long time, is Jacob Tattooey Mariner. I do think that he's one of those guys. He was an undrafted guy. They talked to him in his media session yesterday after the game. He did have a strip sack fumble on Derek Carr as well, and he also had 2 fumble recoveries. So he had an excellent game yesterday. He was one of those guys that came out of UCLA. I didn't realize that he actually was coached by Jeff Ulbrich when Jeff Ulbrich was the defensive coordinator at UCLA. Jeff Ulbrich actually coached Jacob Tattooey Mariner and Tack McKinley when he was there. So he was one of those guys that I'm sure Jeff Ulbrich is possibly the reason why Jacob Tattooey Mariner is with our Atlanta Falcons, because he knew what type of player he was and he knew what he could possibly bring to the table. And we're starting to finally see some of these young players starting to develop. And Jacob Tattooey Mariner is one of those guys that I think could be an Atlanta Falcon for a very long time. If he continues to develop, he could be that guy on the opposite side of Dante Fowler. You've seen when he was in that single, manned up with that offensive tackle, he was able to use those violent hands, as Coach Lowe always talks about, and he was able to get around the edge and get that sack and also recover the fumble once he forced the ball out of Derek Carr's hands. So this defense is doing a lot of different things. I'm loving the 3-4 schemes that we're running. You're starting to see these linebackers, like I talked about earlier, Foye Oluokun being brought in kind of like an outside linebacker in a 3-4 scheme, and then letting this guy come off the edge and rush the passer. The same with Michael Walker. Michael Walker was one of those guys in college. He mainly was used kind of as like a defensive end or outside linebacker in a 3-4 scheme. He was mainly used to blitz. He didn't drop in coverage a whole lot when he was at Fresno State. But here with the Atlanta Falcons, I love how they're using these guys to their strengths, and they're letting these guys play on all the levels. They're letting these guys blitz and be on the on the defensive line, and they also allowing them to play on that second level and allowing these guys to cover. But one thing that I love about our linebackers, and I personally think that we possibly have one of the best linebacking cores in the game, is all of our guys that we have not only can rush the passer and can tackle well, but they also can cover. Every single linebacker that we have. Michael Walker is pretty good in coverage. Deion Jones, to me, is the best coverage linebacker in the game. And Foye Oluokun has proven that he can do everything. He's possibly, I think Foye Oluokun may be the best linebacker on our team, because not only is he a guy that can cover, but he's a little bit bigger than Deion Jones, and he's a little bit more physical than Deion Jones. So he's able to shed blocks a lot better than a Deion Jones. So we have 3 of the best linebackers in the game. I definitely think that we have the best trio in the game with Michael Walker, Deion Jones, and Foye Oluokun. And I think that the defensive line is doing a good job of keeping these guys clean, letting these guys run sideline to sideline. The defense held Josh Jacobs, who's one of the better young running backs in the game, to only 27 yards rushing. And that's really, really good, especially because coming in, Las Vegas is one of those teams that likes to run the football. Josh Jacobs is the guy that makes that offense go. Him and Darren Waller, their tight end. We did a good job of focusing on those guys and not letting those guys get off in this game. Keanu Neal did a good job in coverage, covering Darren Waller. He also did a good job of setting the tone with that first hit he had on Hunter Winfrow, the guy, the wide receiver, slot receiver out of the University of Clemson. Keanu Neal has proven that he deserves a new contract. I do think that Keanu Neal is going to be one of those guys at the end of this season, possibly, or even before this season is over, that will get a new contract. I believe he should get like a 2 or 3 year deal. I think we bring him back, give him a nice, incentive-laden deal with some guaranteed money on it. And we should bring him back, because to me, he has been the comeback player of the year. He has come back and he's playing like his Pro Bowl self, like he played in his rookie season when we went to the Super Bowl. He's back to running sideline to sideline, playing very physical. using that great leverage with his tackling. But I love what I've seen out of the defense altogether. AJ Terrell, another bright spot. He's one of those guys that I think is going to be a star in this league at that cornerback position. He's a lockdown type of corner. He only gave up, I think, one catch yesterday, and that was against Henry Ruggs. And that was just basically a great throw by Derek Carr. He was in position, but Henry Ruggs and Derek Carr just threw the ball in a perfect placement, in a perfect spot. And it was a great catch by Henry Ruggs. But as you know, Henry Ruggs is one of the fastest wide receivers in the game out of Alabama. He's one of the fastest guys in the league. And AJ Terrell has proven that he can cover anybody in this league. Of course, him covering Julio Jones and Calvin Ridley, two of the best wide receivers in the game as well, has helped him grow. But I really think that AJ Terrell is one of those guys that's going to be talked about as a top 5 corner in the game in the next couple seasons. I think also AJ Terrell graded out with Pro Football Focus as the best defensive back, rookie defensive back. So we really did a great job in this last draft that we had. All of the guys are starting to have an impact on the team. Michael Walker, AJ Terrell, and now Marlon Davidson is getting into the mix. So we really have a great young core on this team, mixed in with some veteran guys like Deion Jones, Grady Jarrett. Dante Fowler is another guy who came back yesterday. You guys know how much I love Dante Fowler and the attitude that he brings to this defense. He's a great guy up front in stopping the run, and he's a great pass rusher. So we have a great core unit of guys here, but I really feel like guys are really starting to learn what their roles are on the defense. I think early on, players like Michael Walker, a lot of these young guys that are playing, it took them a while to get their footing. It took Keanu Neal a couple games to get his legs back under him and for him to be confident, after having those lower leg injuries. He's finally starting to trust himself, starting to trust his body, and he's starting to just read and react and play the game like he's used to. I also kind of wanted to talk about the physicality that I'm seeing out of this Atlanta Falcons defense. I talked about it. We're top 10 in stopping the run. We're the ninth best team in the league in stopping the run. I think these guys are playing a lot more physical. Allen Bailey, Grady Jarrett, John Kaminsky, Marlon Davidson. These guys are really starting to come into their own. Tyler Davison, all of these guys up front was really physical yesterday. They were doing a good job of collapsing the pocket, not giving Derek Carr a lot of time in the pocket, not allowing him to get comfortable. And I really think that we have something we can build upon heading into this week against the New Orleans Saints, which is the rematch. And this will be a home game for Atlanta Falcons. But I really think that the defense, it was big on them gaining this kind of confidence heading into this game against the Saints, because the Saints the first time really beat us up bad. But I really think with us dominating the Raiders the way that we did, and being that the Raiders are known for being a physical team, for us to manhandle them in the trenches like we did on the offensive line and the defensive line, I really think that that's going to carry forward in this game against the New Orleans Saints this coming week. The Jacob Tattooey Mariners, like I talked about, one thing I love that he said in his press conference yesterday after the game, they asked him, how does it feel to go from being an undrafted guy to finally, being a starter or being a player that's getting into the rotation. And he said two things that I love that he said. He said there are two things that I can control. It's my physicality in the game and my effort. And that's what I was talking about when we had Takk McKinley here. He wasn't saying the right things. When Takk McKinley was with our team, I wasn't seeing the effort and I wasn't seeing that physicality. And that's what we're seeing from these guys like Jacob Tattooey Mariner, Stephen Means. These guys are not the most talented guys, but in football, especially on the defensive side of the ball, a lot of the times it's about effort, it's about hustle, it's about having heart. And these guys are showing us that they're playing with great heart, playing with great toughness. And I'm just extremely proud of what the defense did yesterday. And I feel like everybody on that defensive side of the ball deserves game ball. They get the game ball on yesterday's game. They controlled the game. They controlled the tempo. They basically shut down the Raiders offense, holding them to 2 field goals and not allowing a touchdown. Now, I do want to talk about the offense a little bit and some stats that I actually looked up. So I actually went back and looked at the box score from every game this season. And in the 4 games that we won this season, we are now sitting at 4-7. But with the 4 games that we won this year, we've run the ball or rushed the ball at least 30 times in those games that we've won. In the games that we've won this year, all 4 games that we won, we've rushed the ball 30 times, 30 or more times. And that goes to show you why I've been saying since day one with Dirk Cutter that we have to stay balanced. We have to run the football. We have to allow our offensive line to be physical. Allow these guys to run block. When you allow these guys to run block, you wear down the defense, you control the line of scrimmage, and you keep the offensive line off of their heels. You keep the pressure off of Matt Ryan. They always say that a best quarterback's friend is a running game, a good running game. And if we do end up making the playoffs, because we are now back in the playoff picture, I'm not saying that we're in the playoffs. I feel like we need to take it one game at a time. But what I'm saying is if we end up making the playoffs, or if we want to make a deep playoff push or even make a playoff push, we have to continue to run the football. If I'm Dirk Cutter on the offensive side of the ball, every single game the rest of this season, we need to try to hit the 30 mark in rushing. We have to at least have 25 to 30 attempts in rushing. That stat, everybody says the stats are for losers, but you definitely stats play a part in the game, and you have to take a look at the statistics. You have to look at what works. And every game, every box score that I looked at, all 4 W's against the Vikings, against the Carolina Panthers, yesterday's game against the Raiders, every single game that we've won this season, we had against the Broncos, every single game we had over 30 rushing attempts in the games that we've won. And that's just it's a part of staying balanced. So Dirk Cutter heading into this game against the Saints, we must attempt to rush the football. At least 25 to 30 attempts should be your goal. I don't care if we're only getting a 1 yard, 2 yards, 3 yards in a cloud of dust. You have to allow your offensive line to be physical. You have to continue to run the football. You cannot get comfortable with dropping Matt Ryan back 40 to 50 times in a game, or even 30, 38, 35, these crazy amount of dropbacks. Because when you do that, you not only put Matt Ryan in harm's way, but you put your offensive line in harm's way because they're backpedaling the whole game and they're not able to pass protect. Another thing that I want to talk about on the offensive side of the ball, yesterday we seen James Carpenter, I think he's our right guard, if I'm not mistaken. No, he's our left guard. Our left guard, he actually went down with a groin injury. So it's going to be very interesting to see who's going to be that guy that's going to fill in and be able to play that role at that left guard position. Personally, I would like to see Matt Gono. I think Matt Gono is that big body, physical. He's similar to a James Carpenter. He's a guy that can play the guard position and the tackle position. And I think he should be the guy that we go with at that guard position. But we're going to see who we decide to play that guard position. I think it should be either Matt Gono or we should give Matt Hennessy a chance to play that left guard position. Yesterday when James Carpenter went down, they actually put, I think, McCray in the game at that guard position. And I also seen a little bit of Matt Gono at the right tackle position yesterday as well. So I think both of those guys, or all 3 of those guys, deserve a shot. McCray, Gono, and Hennessy. Personally, for this game against the Saints, I would go with Matt Gono because when he was actually playing that tackle position early in the season, he did a very good job at playing that tackle position. He's a big physical guy in the run game, and he also did a good job of moving his feet as a big guy on that, on the edge. So I definitely think he'll be a guy that you can use at that guard position that can come off on run plays and pull. He's very athletic, very tall, long, athletic, and I think he could be a guy that could really fill in and do a good job in James Carpenter's absence. Another guy, like I said, is Matt Hennessy. He was drafted this season as well, I believe in the second or third round for Atlanta Falcons out of Temple. And he's a guy that plays at center position. So he's another guy that I think that could definitely fill in. And we definitely need to start giving him some snaps so we can see what he has, because James Carpenter's contract, I believe, is up after this season. But with that being said, you guys let me know what you think in the comments about this upcoming game against the Saints. What were your takes on the defense? What were your takes on this game, on this win, this dominating win? But this been your boy Jew. I'll holler at you guys in the next video. As always, Falcons Nation, rise up. Hit that subscribe button for your boy. Like I said, we're on the road to 1K. I'm going to have a lot more content coming for you guys. But as always, Falcons Nation, rise up. Peace and love. I'm out.